Hi there, welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to make a favourite of mine. I always make this over the holidays. It's a fruit cake, but it's a little bit different than your typical fruit cake. Because when my mother passed away some years back, I found on her refrigerator a recipe handwritten for diabetic fruit cake. So I brought that recipe home with me and tried it. It's very simple, there's no added sugar, and it satisfies my annual fix for fruitcake. Fruitcake has lost some of its popularity, particularly here in the United States, and it's a very expensive specialty product now, so to be able to make a fruitcake that's simple, relatively inexpensive, and very tasty is such a blessing. So let's go ahead and get started. There's a couple of things that I have already done in preparation for making this fruit cake. I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees. I have a cake pan that is lined with baking paper. What I did was I cut some circles of baking powder to place in the bottom, and then I made this ring of baking paper for the sides. So I'll put that aside until I'm ready for it. And I also took 500 grams of mixed fruit for fruit cake mix, though in this case I mixed a little sultanas in there, some raisins, and have mixed that in, and it has been soaking in 1 cup of black tea. It needs to soak for at least an hour. I had some errands to run, so I went ahead and set this soaking and then went and did my errands. And now I'm back and going to get started. So here in my bowl is the mixed fruit that is soaking in 1 cup of black tea. To this mixture I'm going to add 1 egg, I'll mix that around a little to break that egg up. One cup of flour, self-rising flour. If you don't have any self-rising flour, you can use plain flour and baking powder and salt. Mentioned that in my previous recipe, and you'll find a recipe note on my Facebook page. So just go ahead and add 1 cup of flour. And some mixed spice or pumpkin pie spice. I don't have a measurement for that, so we'll just put a dash or 2 of that in there and mix that up. And it is just that simple. Now this is a little bit wetter than probably the desired consistency, because the mixed fruit here is somewhat damper than the mixed fruit that would have been available in Australia, which would have been a very definite dried fruit product. The fruit cake mix here does have some syrup or something that it is sitting in when you get it. So this is a little bit wet. Sometimes I cut down on the tea a little bit to just a little less than a cup. But there we go, that's all mixed in. I'm going to place that into the cake pan. There was no size specified on the recipe that was on the refrigerator, so I just wing it. I've also done these in individual sized servings from They make a nice little snack for a lunchbox. So mix that in there, spread that out. This pan might be a little bit big for this amount of mixture, so normally this would take 35 minutes, but I'm going to actually check that a little bit sooner because this is fairly thin there. So I'm going to pop it in the oven and I'll check it in about 25 minutes and we'll see how it is then. So pop it in the oven and be back shortly. So I checked my fruit cake at 25 minutes and it needed a little bit longer, so I've given it about another 7 minutes and I'm going to take it out of the oven and test for doneness. I've already done a toothpick test where the toothpick came out fairly dry, no stickiness to it from any uncooked dough. I'm going to try something I've never tried before. I was reading about a temperature test for a fruit cake, that it should be between 190 and 200 degrees when you test it with a temperature probe. So I'm going to go ahead and do that just to see how that compares to the toothpick test. So it looks like we're getting there pretty well. I don't know if you can see that reading. It just hit 190 and it is slowing down. I think it's going to stop somewhere around the 194 mark. So it is at 194 and it is changing very slowly. So I think that that is a good indication that our fruit cake is done. So I'll let this cool in the pan for a few minutes and then I'll go ahead and take it out of the pan and we can have a better look at how the cake looks when it's done. So I'll be back in just a few minutes. So it has been 10 or 15 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and take the fruit cake out of the pan. Have a look at it. And it might be too soon to take the paper off, but we'll go ahead and do that anyway. What will happen is we'll damage the side of the cake, but we would still eat it. So here we go. Taking that off. I'll leave the paper on the bottom. Slide that off. And there we go. Doesn't that look good? So thank you for joining me today while I made fruitcake. I hope it's something that you'll give a try. And come back soon. Stop by and visit my Facebook page to get tips and hints. And have a great day. Bye.